This is Serkan Valandova, Secretary General of International Investors Association, and I'm happy to welcome you to the High Impact Opportunity Women Empowerment Panel. And I would like to thank GSG and EYDK for granting me the privilege of hosting four outstanding panelists who have made tremendous contributions to the field of women's empowerment. In the next 30 minutes, we will try to inform you, inspire you, and mobilize you to take action and support this invaluable cause. And I know that 30 minutes will not do any justice in encompassing all the work our panelists have put forward, but we will do our best to cover as much as possible. And to begin with, let me introduce our distinguished panelists for you. Ibukun Awosika, it's a pleasure meeting you. GSG Trustee and founder and CEO of the Chair Center Group. Zeynep Bodur, President and CEO of Kale Group of Companies. Ebru Özdemir, Chairperson of the Board, Limak Group of Companies, and Handan Abdurrahmanoğlu, Director of Regional Marketing, Business Transformation and Growth, South Asia at Arçelik Global. Pleasure meeting you all. So, Awosika, may we begin the panel with you? Okay. So, as a GSG trustee and an impact leader, how can you summarize the GSG's approach towards women empowerment? And what can we learn from your experiences and similar ones from Africa? And how can we better cooperate?
Okay. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Turkish NAB, for the amazing work that you do. Now, when you talk about GSG's approach to women, then you have to generally talk about GSG's approach to changing the world. Because if you're totally involved with the work of development and impact in any way, the largest group of people you would likely impact in the world right now in order to cause massive change would be women. And along with them will be the young people. And usually that's tied to women as well. Because if you change the life of a woman, then you know for sure she's not going to take the results of the impact on her life and marry a second wife or build a second, third house. She would impact her family and change the life of her children. So GSG's approach to impact investing is to create tidal change in every community. And if, taking Turkey as an example, if 50%, literally 50%, 49-point-something% of your population are women, it does mean if the Turkish impact ecosystem works effectively, then you will unlock the productivity and the capacity of the women within Turkey and increase the growth within the economy and the nation and change multiple lives when you do that. And as a Nigerian, in my country of 220 million people, we are about 50% of women. And women are engaged aggressively in the economic value chain, albeit at a lower end of the value chain. But with increased investment in the education of women, with increased availability of financing for women to express themselves economically, and as an entrepreneur myself, what you do is you start a value chain. And the more you have a panel of accomplished women, the more you get the girls behind the value chain to rise up and know that they can become anybody that they want to be. So for us at GSG, it's really instigating the development in each country and letting every key sector that you driving the change within those sectors to have the impact of gender and environment and all of the SDG issues running through the key sectors that you run.
Thank you very much for setting the spirit. And Zeynep, if I may continue with you. First of all, I would like to give a little bit of context for this question. Previously in 2015, as Türkiye is leading C20, and most recently as an international advisory board member in B20 Indonesia 2022, you have supported cross-border cooperation towards sustainable development. And B2 Summit's headline was Advancing Innovative, Inclusive and Collaborative Growth. And with you taking part in a panel discussion titled Enabling Entrepreneurship, Business Growth and Job Creation with a focus on MSMEs and women-led business. So can you explain the major global developments in the field of women empowerment and how Türkiye has been taking part in these developments?
Thank you, first of all, to Şafak Hanım and the organizers and Boğaziçi University for hosting us here in such a beautiful environment. And that was a deja vu for me because we did the last meeting of C20 here when I was head of C20. I see Mustafa Bey here as well. So we were celebrating here, and that was the same setting. So it is a excitement for me again. So for gender equality and women empowerment, I think it's a question of utilizing human capital and harnessing talent. So this is the major issue there. Today, obviously, women worldwide have achieved impressive gains in the ongoing fight for equality everywhere, and I admire Africa because when we were in C20, we went to Ethiopia, and one of the best conferences that we had was in Ethiopia, talking about the equality, and so that was very interesting. And since then, I try to follow closely what you are doing there, and but still the finish line remains elusive because. In practically, when we discuss about women's empowerment, it ought to cover all the facets of life, not only in one area. Although there have been significant global developments over the past few years, most notable is the adoption of Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action in 1995. Since then, a comprehensive agenda for achieving gender equality and empowering women, advanced, and there have been numerous interracial agreements, initiatives, and Turkey also took part in those international agreements. And of course, the SDGs and the Women, Peace and Security Agenda afterwards gave pace to the women empowerment. So when it comes to progress, there are, I think, three observations. First, it is clear that the call to action is getting louder right now. So I take part in B20, and last year in Indonesia, I was in the Women Empowerment Group, and this year in India, I take part in the mobility and job creation. So we created a One Global Women Empowerment Program. So this was aimed at bolstering inclusive, resilient, and sustainable economic growth by enhancing, obviously, women's empowerment and ensuring a constant advocacy for gender equality. So this year also it continues. So it did not stay last year's G20 agenda, but this year also. Also, I heard that Vice President Harris also introduced global ventures for women economic development worth over $1 billion. So those are good examples. Second is we have a clearer understanding of the complex interconnections between economic and social environmental outcomes. So closing the workforce gender, this always has been taught in every conference I've been, closing the workforce gender gap could create the global GDP by a staggering 28 trillion. So this is a very important figure. Therefore, we have to emphasize more and more women's empowerment and the inclusion of the women in the economic activity. Of course, we live in a difficult world. We had COVID-19 wars and unfortunately a devastating earthquake in Turkey. And the women disproportionately bear the brunt of these crises. Therefore, these war-induced economic downturns and social disruptions unfortunately are very difficult, because women are omitted from peace talks or decision-making procedures, so they are affected. And third, the technology also has proven itself a key accelerator in the global race towards gender equality. And UN, as everybody knows, chose the theme of digital all, but however the accessibility of technology for women lags behind that of men because there is less women in STEM education. So I think there are many programs, mentorship, etc. To close the gap. There has been a slight uptick in representation in this area, but still there is a lot to do. And Turkey also did a lot involved in these global developments, and also now the government also has taken steps to promote women's empowerment, especially in the private sector, so like support programs in employment or entrepreneurship. So those are good steps, you know, for us. We have to be hopeful. So I believe that businesses has to prioritize gender equality and women's empowerment because this makes sense also for business. When women lead businesses, you know, those businesses, they become more profitable. There are signs of that in many reports. It's already cited. So I think this is as a business, you know, women in this country also I support and really dynamic and inspirational role models also are important to encourage the women. So we in a business environment, I think we have to push more those good examples, and of course in our companies as well, you know, try to close the gap so that we contribute to the global agenda.
Mm-hmm. So those were not the best years to achieve progress in any topic, but it's really encouraging for all the things that you said. And if I may continue from the point you last, Ebru Hanım, the private sector is a key actor in women empowerment. And how do you define the role of the private sector in respect, including but not limited to impact capital supply, stakeholder engagement, project development, and knowledge sharing?
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for inviting me to the panel. Thank you very much to Ms. Şafak Hanım. It's very nice to be here. I'm a graduate of this university. It's been a while, so I don't want to disclose the date of my graduation, but it's always nice to be here and always nice to discuss this important topic because whoever knows me, whenever there's a topic called women empowerment, I'm there, and so I'm very happy to share my views. So, you know, it's very important. Whatever we do, private sector has to be there. I mean, in women empowerment, private sector is going to be the power for the economic growth. And I think these are complex problems right now. Whatever we face in the challenges of the world, it's so complex that not only private sector, nor the governments or the institutions cannot address these problems. So what we have to do is we have to collaborate, we have to, as the Turkish saying, put our hands under the stone together if you want to really do something and if you want to really advance on something. Because the responsibility cannot be shared by the governments only. I mean, we cannot expect everything from the government. So as this commitment needs to go beyond governments. And sometimes when you look at the projects or the complex problems, they go to the private sector just for financial support. This is not enough as well. I mean, when people come to me and ask for financial support, but not the wisdom or the knowledge, this is not enough. So the focus should be for the private and the public institutions, a commitment and a collaboration. We have done a lot of projects on PPPs, BOTs. We build dams, hydropower plants, the longest bridge in the world by this model. So why not addressing the same problem, these complex problems the same way? If we work together, then we can find answers. And as an engineer, I'd like to look at from the perspective that first we share the insights, we identify the problem, then we identify the gaps. So what do we have to do? And then we put the roadmap, and then now the technology is there. Let's find the innovative solutions. Now we are using startups to answer many of our problems in the construction. So why not finding innovative solutions to empower women so that we can have more women in the economy? I have a first-hand experience on how public-private collaboration on social impact projects can advance gender equality, which is called Engineer Girls of Turkey. Now we are taking it to global Engineer Girls. We started in 2015. We had 30 girls, but now we have 750. We work with local partners. We work with ministries, Ministry of Family, Ministry of Education, international institutions like UNDP, not only in Turkey, but in other countries. And then we work with other institutions like Women in Technology partner. We do a partnership together on the education of these girls. So we try to identify the problem and answer it, and also on the local concept, because whatever we do now in Turkey is not the same in Macedonia or not the same in Kuwait. We are altering it according to the needs. But we do it together. We identify the roadmap and we have checkpoints and we can alter it. Because today's world, we have to be flexible, be able to change the program according to the needs and the feedbacks. Also the feedbacks of the girls are important. So I think the dialogue and the collaboration is very important to, especially to answer all these questions.
Thank you very much. And to deep dive into field experiences and implementations, let us continue with Handan Hanım. And in addition to 45,000 of employees in 53 countries, and Arçelik Global is fulfilling its motto, respecting the world, respected worldwide, with its stance towards women empowerment. And can you summarize the milestones you have set for 2030? Like, what are you planning to do and what are going to be the next achievements?
Thank you. First of all, thank you, Şafak Hanım. Thank you, Mustafa Bey, for inviting us here. It's really a pleasure for us to be part of this kind of impactful organization. As Arçelik, inclusion, diversity, gender equality is very important, let's say, things for us. And really we are, as a company, as you might, most of you know, we are operating in different fields, like from sales to engineering, after sales services. We have lots of things we are touching, and it's really important to give the role to women. So I am working for South Asia region. South Asia region is, I believe, even in our company, only 4% of employees are women. So to be there as a leader and to really show our women empowerment over there, it's very valuable, not only for me, also for, I believe, for the region. So we are giving big importance to diversity and women empowerment in our organization. We have lots of subsidiaries. For example, in Romania, we have 54% of women in workforce, while we have, unfortunately, only 4% in Pakistan. But overall, we have around 23%. And in 2030, we are planning to achieve over 30%, 35% of women in workforce. Actually, Action Coalition platform, we are strongly supporting this platform, and we have 6 different initiatives. And one of them is the Garage Hub. Actually, we are trying to support the women entrepreneurship here. We have 2,500 women working for the projects, and 359 of them achieved the targets. So I would like to congratulate them as well. So it's very important for us. STEM, as you mentioned, it's very important to see. Also, we observe that some roles or some functions also not very desired for the women. So somehow we should make them more demanding and more attractive for women. So we work on for it. We are trying to reach the women in engineering, in not only sales and marketing. I'm marketeer, by the way, but there are lots of women in marketing function. But we want to see more in engineering, in production, in different field of the business. So we are trying to support. So as Arçelik, we will lead the change in our country as well, also all over the world. And I believe women deserve the change all over the world.
Congratulations for all those outcomes. These are really sheer numbers, like very big numbers that all initiatives are trying to reach to. So this is a great impact on the society and all the women who are working on this empowerment domain. Thank you very much for this one. And if we can come back to wide impact, big implementations, like influencing more than 300,000 women since its inception. Women in Management, Business and Public Service, WIMBIS, is a non-profit organization that has implemented programs that inspire, empower, and advocate for greater representation of women in leadership. and positions in public and private sector also. So what are the solid results and next steps for WIMBIZ? You see the future.
Okay, thank you very much. WIMBIZ, if I just give a background, is an organization that 12 women and 1 man started in Nigeria 21 years ago. It's 22 years now. At the point in time when we started it, our women were totally missing from every boardroom. There were no women in top leadership positions in Nigeria, in a country of over 200 million people, and smart and well-educated women. But they start at the same level with the men. At the middle level, they're still competing. After the middle level, they disappear, and they weren't getting into the positions. A number of us were entrepreneurs. We were all in our 30s. The oldest people were in their early 40s, and some were in corporate. Some of us were outright entrepreneurs, which is a place where women do rule and do well, which is part of why the work that GSG does is key, because impact investing can help to raise and empower women to deploy their talents as entrepreneurs in places where they do not get the opportunity to get the right kind of position in corporate. Now, so we started this organization, and we wanted to be the catalyst to elevate the profile of women in my country. Everybody thought, first, you bring 12 ambitious, successful women together, they're going to fight, or there's going to be trouble, and there's no way it would last. But when you bring smart, driven, focused women together, they don't waste time doing the unimportant things. They focus on the important things. And we set an agenda for ourselves to change our country and the rights of women and their positioning. We didn't want to be everything to everyone. So we were not working at the bottom of the pyramid. We were working middle of the level up. Because if we build the influencers, the others at the bottom will be able to rise through them. So that was our investment. And over the last 21 years, we've done that aggressively in a way that I think if WIMBIZ has an annual conference, there's usually over 2,000 women in attendance. And the women come from all over the country and from all over the world. On top of that, we've increased the positioning of women aggressively in core positions, and we were deliberate and strategic. We would go to the men and say, tell us exactly why there are no women in your boardroom. And they'll give us all the excuses. And we'll say, no problem. We'll take all the excuses back, and we will implement a program and a plan to get the women who are technically qualified, but who needed the extra knowledge to serve, and get them prepared, such that we then created a database and say, when you have board openings, tell us what you're looking for. Don't put a gender on it. Just tell us the qualities you're looking for. When you send us the list, we'll send you a list of options. We will not tell you who to choose. It didn't take long for everybody to realize the girls were as smart, if not smarter than the guys. And it was just about creating an opportunity and an environment for them to perform. We also then facilitated the change of mindset of the women themselves in terms of how they think about their ability to take the opportunities. It's a systemic plan that you work on over the long term. First, you work with creating the right environment. 3, you work with the mindset of the women and give them the tools. 3, you challenge the status quo in a deliberate way. And ultimately, at the time I became the chairman of the oldest financial institution in sub-Saharan Africa, there were 3 of us that became chairman of 3 of the 5 top banks in my country at the same time, at about the same time. It had never happened. I was the first in 122 years of the bank I became chair of. So there were patriarchal institutions that didn't think they could ever have women. But the girls went in and we changed the platform. Today, there may be about 20 banks in my country. 9 of them are, the chief executives are women. So when you work deliberately, the girls have the skills. They might not have the additional knowledge that is required to transition from having just the quantitative or the technical knowledge to having the leadership knowledge that prepares them to be in the right position. And if you do not have women taking key leadership roles, you cannot bring more women along the pipeline. When I got to serve on the board of First Bank, there was first one woman there that I met. This is a 100-something-year-old bank. Then there were 2 of us, and then 1 person left, and then there was 1, and another person came, and there were 2, and then somebody left, and we were left as 2. When I became chair, by the time I left, there were 4 of us, but we weren't just 4. We were 4 women on the board of the bank of the largest financial institution in the region, but 1 was chair, 1 was the chairman of the governance and risk, 1 was chairman of board credit committee, and the other was chairman of, there were 4 of us, risk, governance, and board credit, and I was chair of the board. So we were 4 girls compared to 10 men, but we were 4 girls that made a difference. But more importantly, every colleague we had on the board knew we were 4 competent girls, and we knew what to do, and we could deliver value. And I think in many ways, it influenced the emergence of more women across the financial sector in my country, showing that girls can do it effectively and do it. Women bring loyalty, dedication, diligence to the marketplace. And if you're looking for industries that will perform, I remember one day a young woman came to me. She was asked to be acting chief executive of an utility company, a power company. And she doubted herself. She didn't think she could do it. So she looked around for who knew me and asked to come and speak to me. So I said to her, okay, no problem. How much did your bosses pay to buy the power company? And she told me, maybe about almost $300 million. I said, okay. Do they look like guys that do not understand the value of money? She said, no. Are they in the habit of wasting their resources? She said, no. Why do you think they will ask you, if you're incompetent, to run the company? If they just thought you're a pretty face and they want to make you happy, they'll find you director of public affairs or director of government relations or one of those kind of things that they like a pretty face to do. But when they give you the chief executive role, men don't play with their money. They will never ask you except they know you're qualified. So our role is to get the girls qualified and then speak for them every time there's competition for the position. When you get the most number of girls you can in there, more girls would aspire to be, more girls will be prepared to be. And it's not a girl issue, by the way. I do not see gender issue as a girl issue. It's an economic issue. It's a business issue. You cannot have 50% of the resource that you have in your country undermined. No business person will lock up 50% of their resource in a locker room and not utilize it. You'd be like flying a plane that has twin engine, flying every time with one engine. You're not a smart business person if you do that. So the smartest nations in the world or the smartest companies that want to build right will invest in women. And that's part of what we do at GSG. Encouraging impact investment across the nations is literally fighting for the other half of humanity to be unlocked in its value and to allow every person that has capacity to deliver the value that it does and to break traditional positions that have held women down. When we do that, we will change the world. And what we do at GSG is to change the world. And we change it with women as an asset.
Thank you very much. There are many lessons to be learned from this one: setting the right ecosystem, implementing the right business model, reaching a critical mass, and then geometrically skyrocketing in the outreach. So thank you very much for sharing this one. And we'll be looking deeper into this experience of yours for the future. Thank you very much. And there are some programs which are really successful and increasing our outreach for the best practices. And one of them is Ibrahim Bodur Social Entrepreneurship Program, which is named after Ibrahim Bey, a giant industrialist that we all learned from. And this program has managed to reach millions of people and received thousands of applications from enthusiastic social entrepreneurs over, say, 7 years, right? And as a part of your much larger Take Care of Your Planet movement, that is a part of a larger initiative. And can you elaborate on the impact of your program and how many people did you reach? What kind of change can you succeed in implementing this for 7 years?
Yes, thank you. We are currently, I believe that in the world we are currently going through a period in which social enterprises are gaining momentum. This is also the case for Turkey. So my father, who is also a graduate of this school, was an important entrepreneur, but also he was very keen on local development issues. So after he passed away, we tried to create a program for his name to leave his legacy. With the acceptance of social entrepreneurship as an alternative business model, we saw that there is a very much affinity with what we are doing and what the world is heading, and we saw many interest of young people in this field because the problems in the world are accumulating. So people are trying to find solutions to that. So and we started to think over that, and we created in 2017 Ibrahim Bodur Entrepreneurship Program. First of all, I would like to say something about the social entrepreneurship, because in countries like Turkey, in developing countries, these entrepreneurs are important because they are addressing a social problem as well, but they are doing it with a like a business model, but their life is very, very difficult. So at the beginning, we had the help of Awosika, then we had the help of Impact Hub. Right now, we are trying to design a well-thought program. It was at the beginning an award, but we don't want to leave this as a mere award program. We want to go further. And while we dive into this area and try to recognize the ecosystem, we saw that many more steps must be taken to ensure the development of an effective social enterprise ecosystem. First of all, we need a mentality change, creating new schemes and support mechanisms for financial stability, because these enterprises are having quite difficulty for the sustainability. So we try also to create an awareness for the impact investment in this ecosystem as well. Obviously, we saw the need that more business should be in this ecosystem to support these people. And we always had a perspective to support and change the lives of the people by adding value to the community since our foundation. This was a legacy of my father, so we wanted to build upon that. And they became the first institution that set an example and opened the field for private sector organizations to support the occupation in this area. And we wanted to trigger in transformation, also not only externally, also but internally. So we wanted to adopt business models that social entrepreneurs are using in this area. So this was difficult because it required a mindset change, also in a profit-oriented company, but we learned a lot from their business practices. So it helped also for our company to grow and to look into the things with a different angle. And we had we saw also we are producing in the rural area, and by supporting these social entrepreneurs, we saw the change that we created in the areas which really had some important problems to solve. So after 7 years, more than 2,000 social entrepreneurs applied to our program. We have 61 finalists and 21 winners right now. And we do not see, as I said, this program as an award program, but we aim to create a community of social entrepreneurs who can learn from each other and others' experiences and develop business and produce standard solutions to social problems. We conducted a study to understand what are the problems that they are facing, and to see also after a 5-year program, so to see what we can do in the next 5 years. And we saw that the social enterprise that we have supported in the last 5 years have been able to create an added value of 25 million TL. So that's a good start. Should be more, but of course it's good start. Knowing that they are micro also businesses. We then created, after the award program, another program together with Boğaziçi University Continuous Education Center. We call it the Academy of Good Ministers of the World. So our aim is, together with Boğaziçi University, to reach out students all over Turkey to meet the concept of social entrepreneurship, and we are continuously building on it. And we established another program called CU, a social entrepreneurship training program, with the project supported by the Turkish National Agency of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to expand our outreach to high school students. We saw that this social entrepreneurship ecosystem should start from the high school, so they get this idea and then afterwards invest in this area. So we reach out this year 50 teachers. They are all under 30 years old. So they are from the not from private schools, but they are working in the public schools, and we ask them to be as ambassadors to motivate young people and become social entrepreneurs themselves, together with their students, and to set an example to them. So our aim is to reach at least 2,000 high school students within 3 years. So we also prioritize our efforts to support the people and the region affected by the earthquake. So we started another program, which is a small-scale grant program. We reach out our social entrepreneurs, 61 winners, and we ask them, if they have an idea, to realize in the earthquake zone. So they will start to develop projects for the needs of the people in this area. And 19 projects have been selected, and they also return to our call. So we will provide budget to their programs in the region, up to 300,000 Turkish lira each of them. So if we see good results, we will also have the ability to scale up in the future, because we think that the problems of the region will not end soon, so it will continue. And we want this social entrepreneurship program to be the most extensive program serving the social entrepreneurship ecosystem. And we will in the future try to acknowledge the social entrepreneurs to use more, the GSG, idea, and become more impact-driven entrepreneurs. So we are also trying to learn from Şafak Hanım and the platform how to energize and how to motivate them, and also learning also from what kind of a social, financial system can be available, etc. So as a company also, we will invest in those funds to support them. So this is what we did so far, and I think I can say also from my own experience, meeting with social entrepreneurs and learning from them was a great experience for me. So also changed my mind of looking to my own business, and that was also a learning for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and congratulations. Yeah. Congratulations for establishing a mechanism to educate the next generation of social entrepreneurs. So that means a lot. And if you may move to another successful initiative, Ebru Hanım, your ever-growing initiative, Engineer Girls of Türkiye. has been named and honored as a Global Parity Alliance Diversity, Equity and Inclusion Lighthouse for its efforts in the field of gender equity by the World Economic Forum's Center for the New Economy and Society. How has the initiative started and how did it expand?
Thank you. A couple of quick notes. First, to Ms. Awosika, I mean, when you said to change the world, we always gather the engineer girls every year when they are about to graduate. And we brought some Kuwaiti girls to Turkey, and we did a graduation ceremony. And I asked, each time I meet these girls, I ask their dreams. And most of the dreams were like from Kuwait, we want to change the world. And I'm like, oh my God, this is becoming a little bit dangerous. But seeing all these girls who wants to change the world was really something, you know, that matters. That I felt that moment that we are doing something correct, that we are doing something right because we put a lot of efforts in these projects. Zeynep Hanım is in the advisory board. Now I see that a lot of collaboration here. UNDP is here. And from Arçelik, we have wonderful engineers, women engineers as mentors. I mean, Arçelik, day one, with Hakan Bey, they started to give us a lot of support. And all these women engineers who are, I think, pioneers in engineering in Arçelik, which is, I think, one of the most technological companies in Turkey, they helped every girl there to really move forward. So it's very important to see all this collaboration. I see another entrepreneur there, Tengiz, we are working with them in construction sites. They're a very good company. And seeing all these people around just really makes me very happy. And Engineer Girls has been, as I said, we founded in 2015. It's been 8 years. We first started with the idea that my mother was the only woman engineer in her class in mechanical engineering. I graduated as a civil engineer from this university. We were 5 out of 50. And I said, why don't we have more women engineers? Why who is good in maths and science have to be doctors or teachers? I mean, why don't we see them as successful engineers in the business world? So this started with this idea, but you know what it converges right now is we see that all these girls who are graduating or students, they become advocates of gender equality and women empowerment. Wherever I go, I see that they're becoming advocating about this thing. And I see that, and I say again that we do something right because we created an awareness. The first thing it started is like, people are aware of this fact and people are choosing. And now girls are choosing despite their families who say, okay, why don't you become a teacher? You'll have an easy life. You can get easily married. Or a doctor, when we get old, you take care of us. No, they say, I want to be a computer engineer. I want to work in AI. I want to be a civil engineer. I want to build the highest dam in the world. So I see all these nice and courageous women all around and seeing that. And also the other thing is, as you said, winning these awards also makes me feel like I'm doing something right. We were awarded one of the 8 projects in the world in the AI as women engineers. It was a very challenging process, but they thought that this is a good project. Because we have to create examples. I mean, we can read as many things and, you know, many paragraphs, this and that. But what I realized, especially in engineering, you have to see it. You can be what you can see. So if we create good examples, if we create good role models, and if the people see that they exist and they come from the same paths, then they can do it as well. So Turkish women engineers created that. In Kuwait, we created that. And now we are going to North Macedonia and to Kosovo. We are creating it. And yet last week, I won another award in Impact again. And I made this presentation, and a lot of people approached me. One of them is Greece. They want to do it because this is not the problem of Turkey. This is the problem of the world. And also, at the same time, we are going to Greece, but at the same time, we are going to Saudi Arabia. So we have to develop at the same speed. We are not at the same starting points, but we will reach there at different velocities. But if we collaborate, and the other important thing is if we create the sisterhood as well between the women, I think we'll be able to reach our goals.
Thank you. And if you may conclude with one last good example. While the We in Tech project that you are implementing, Handan, must also be noted for its aim to open careers in STEM and developing R&D, advanced R&D business for women. You have two more initiatives, 500 women technicians and BECO 100 women dealers. These are very ambitious feats that you're implementing so far. And these are especially important for their focus on the real sector and overcoming deep-rooted problems. Can you please elaborate on this aspect, how the initiatives are succeeding?
First of all, we have lots of guests from out of Turkey. Maybe I should give more details about Arçelik. Actually, we have almost 3,000 dealers at each corner of Turkey, I can say. And we have also after-sales services. So we are on the streets. So what we thought, while we are trying to change and transform our environment in the workforce of Arçelik, we also would like to make some changes on the streets of Turkey. So these technicians, we believe in gender equality and we don't believe the gender discrimination. So I believe technicians, men, as I give example, marketeers, more women, we don't believe this gender discrimination. So we say that, okay, actually it was a transformation for us at that moment because we were doing omnichannel transformation and we observed that some women technicians at the office, we need to create a new job for them. And at the same time, we were thinking about the gender equality and say that, okay, let's train them and why not to send them to homes as a technicians. Also, it will create some perception at the home. Imagine that you open the door and there is a technician, woman technician. I believe it was a good example for Turkey. So we really create an education system and imagine that 1,000 service points, 500 women technicians, it's a lot. At that starting point. Now we have much more. Dealers, another story. Again, dealers, I believe in each town we have dealers, Arçelik and BECO dealers, and they are very important business people in their town. So again, imagine that you have a woman dealer. So what we did, actually, we want them to be the best. Actually, last week we opened our 100th shop, women's shop. Actually, even I'm not happy to say woman dealer because it's again gender discrimination. So we call them dealers as women, let's say. So really we train them, we try to make them best in dealership structure. And again, to show that you don't have to be professional only. You can have your own job. And as an Arçelik, we will really support you to be the best. So now we have 100 under BECO brand. My dream to have women dealers in my region, South Asia region. So we will, whatever we are doing, our origin is Turkey. So we innovate from Turkey and then we try to copy it in all over the world. I would like to finish my word from one example. I was also dealing with Switzerland, for example. I believe the problem of women not only for the East region, Turkey, or I believe all over the world. I remember very well, I was having a dinner with one business person from Switzerland, and he asked me, are you getting the same salary for your job in Turkey for the same job like, let's say, men? It was a very surprise question for me because in Arçelik I have 20 years experience. I never felt that I earn less than men thanks to my company. But imagine that Switzerland businessman, he said that because in Switzerland women get less. So thanks to Atatürk, our leader, founder, he made us really strong as a woman in Turkey. Thank you.
Yeah, please. Thank you very much. Okay, please. Thank you. And just, Ms. Awosika asked for making her final remarks about
just
all
one
the examples
thing.
we mentioned.
Thank you. Just one thing. I just want to, and I apologize. The point I want to make is this, and this is for all the fathers in the room. When we talk about women issues, it's not about women in competition with you or with your sons. It's about solving the women's issue for your daughters, for your sisters, for your wives, for your nieces, for all the women in your life. And if you imagine that you only have female children, imagine that you invest so much to educate and to empower them, and that at the end of the day, they're never going to get a fair chance to be the best of who they can be. When you remember that every time, then you will be a champion for making sure that every woman who has the capacity to can be the best of herself, no matter where she works. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And please, okay. One last comment. Zeynep.
I heard what Handan said, so it reminded me that we with our foundation we started to invest also in women installers like you did, because we are in building materials business and it was flooded with men, but also the building materials also need some aesthetic and some extra effort, because you enter into the people's houses and then you change it, etc. So we thought, why we don't create, women installers? So we asked them to join our education program, and so it was so successful. We had many requests from the field. So it was useful also for the rural areas because they sometimes couldn't find enough place to work. So when they become an installer, they could go also work by themselves and earn money to support their family. So that was a game changer, and I'm glad that you did the same in Arçelik. So those programs are really, very, very powerful and has a great impact on the total population. Thank you.
Thank you all for all the initiatives that you've been undertaking. And may I ask for a big applause for our panelists who are by themselves are the role models for change in this area. Pleasure meeting you.